for our weekly Cobalt session. For our weekly Cobalt session. And that's at 5:03. All right. So, I mean, I definitely feel like we should chat about that some if we can. Basically, we have the sponsorship program. We've got bank accounts, etc. Policies. Plenty to discuss.
Okay.
Although this would be a goal because the sponsorship program is a client. All right, so where are we? So policy keeper, Jay, do you want to help with any of the positions? Note taking, timekeeping.
Timekeeping.
Video indexing.
Timekeeping. I thought you started that.
Task responsibility master.
Oh, it is okay. I can do that.
You can do the task responsibility master? Cool. All right, let's do some check-ins. You want to check in first?
I'm 9. Happy to be here and to learn new stuff.
And what you've been working on?
Mass session. And verification ownership.
Okay. Probably like a 6.4. And obviously been working on a lot of sponsorship programs, specifically digital storytellers, as well as Spark Poetry. And I have been doing payroll. Got that done. I've also been working on policies and Plasmo and mission with it, etc. All right. Let's see what is next. So I do have a proposal I don't want to forget about. So this is the all right. So check-ins, attendance, rankings, tokens. So we have a check-in from Albina. So Albina checked in. Lucy said, I just slept and got time for the session. Hello, guys. Sorry I just sleep and got time for the session. See you Cobalt time. Well, she said she's going to be here, so Lucy should be here. I don't know what to do about that. Obviously, Asif's not here. We can remove him. Zilu's also not here. I'm going to go ahead and remove him.
Remove somebody?
Uh-huh.
I thought this happened because of full moon and new moon.
Oh, that's fine. Cool. All right. So, and we also are going to want to consider making, we do need to do our communication. So communications priorities, make sure. All right. Okay. So we're still kind of behind on our rankings, but we're getting really close. And tokens, we're still behind on that. So we're going to go ahead and skip the rankings and tokens still. But we do need to deal with that sooner than later. So now we're on evaluations and prioritization. This could be a good time to go through the global weekly communications check-in form. And the link for a prioritization spreadsheet should be in the Cobalt Super Team doc, which you have linked conveniently at the top. Here we go. So that goes right here. You can actually do that ahead of time when you're setting up the doc. You can add the sheet. All right, so let's go ahead and do our priorities and evaluation. And do you want to go over the global weekly check-in form real quick? Since you're here.
Me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, look, Lucy's here. Hey, Lucy, you want to check in?
Hi.
Lucy, can you do the video indexing? Lucy, can you do video indexing? Can you hear us, Lucy?
Hello.
Can you hear us? Lucy? Lucy, can you hear us? Weird. All right. Anyways, hopefully she will fix it. No, she can't hear us. Okay, we can hear you. You just need to fix your sound. Anyway, so do you want to go through the global weekly communications check-in form real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's just do that right now, and then we'll do our priorities ranking spreadsheet. So this is a great opportunity to do some training. So right now we're at minute 8. So when you're doing the video indexing, you would just take the link from the video here, and you would say share starting at minute 8. And then you would just, right, not 8, it would be minute 8.
Hi, I just checked the sound is okay. I don't know what's the problem.
8 seconds. So weird. 8:00. There we go. So it has 8 minutes, see? So then that would be, oh, can you hear us now, Lucy? I don't know. Anyway, so this would be how you do the video indexing. So we're gonna do the video indexing, right? This would be like how to do video indexing. All right. So again, just to review, you go up to the top, you have the recording, you go to the recording, you click on share, and then you just make sure the minute is correct. In this case, we're at minute 9, right? And then it'll automatically add minute 9. You copy that, copy to clipboard, come back over here, go to video indexing, and then in this case, we're doing minute 9. And so minute 9 will be the start of the next section, which is going to be for the global weekly check-in form, okay?
Okay.
All right, so then for the global weekly check-in form, I'm just gonna go ahead and link on the form. So the main purpose of this form is just to make sure that all the global FQN workers, well, all FQN workers anywhere in the globe, regardless whether they're global or normal workers, right, would just do a very quick check-in, right? So it actually should take longer to explain how to do the check-in form than it actually takes to fill it out. Obviously, the first time you fill it out, it's going to take a little bit more effort, but then in the future, it should go very quickly, okay? So the first part is just, and you're going to estimate everything. So it's only take 1 to 5 minutes, estimate everything to the best of your ability, quickly, whatever comes to your head, like the first thing that comes to mind. And if it's 0 or nothing, it's fine, but just make sure you put something in that estimates your total. So your name, I'm going to put my name, Jay, right? The week would be, you're going to put the moon. So it's currently the 138-degree east moon month, and it's the week 3, right? So it's week 3 of the 138 east moon month. But if you're not really sure about the moon month, you could just put week 3. What are we? July, August, right? Is the equivalent moon month, right? Or you could literally put the dates. If you just want to put the dates, it's fine. Any question on the first two, name or the week?
No.
Okay, cool. So also, let's make sure this is clear that this is a test, right? This is a test that actually is training, right? So just right. Okay. So estimated total hours worked. So I usually work a lot of hours. So I usually am working like 50, 60 hours. So I'll put 55 hours, right? So each person's gonna be having a different number of hours as they're working. Hi, Lucy. In different weeks, you might work different hours. So last week I was on vacation. I only worked like 23, 24, 25 hours, right? So a lot less hours than usually. So does the estimated total hours make sense? All right. So then the estimated total compensation for these hours. So this is where you would put just your basic number of amount of pay, right? There's a couple ways to figure this out. For example, for me, my budgeted hours is 30 hours a week. So any hours above 30 hours a week automatically becomes a stipend, right? So for me, I don't actually have to worry about calculating any hours because I just get my stipend and I always working more hours than I'm stipend. So in this context, I would just say, from Rico, which is where I get paid, it would be $200, right? But also I get $0 from the network, right? Because the network doesn't pay me, okay? So if you're working under your budgeted hours, right? So let's say you're making let's say $100 a month, or let's say $300 a month, or actually $250 a month divided by, let's say you're doing 10 hours, divided by 4 weeks, that would be $6.25 an hour, right? So let's say it's 10 hours a week, but you only work 5 hours, right? Then you would multiply it by 5 hours, and it would be about $30. So let's say I worked 5 hours at $6 an hour. I would put here $30. Okay.
Okay.
Does that sort of make sense? So you're just estimating the total number of hours that you worked and the total compensation you had for these hours, and it's just a quick estimate. Any other questions on the hours or compensation?
No.
Cool. Estimated percentage client work. So this is where it gets really important to track do your work reporting. And you can double check really quickly on your work reporting, but overall an estimate is fine. So for me, of the 55 hours that I usually work, I typically do maybe like 25 hours of client work. So if I do 25 divided by 55, I get 45% client work. Sometimes I do more, like 30% client work, which would be more like 55%. So I'm going to put 55% client work. Some people do a lot less client work. The goal is 28.5% client work is the minimum. And then from there, you'd want to go up to 33% client work is helpful because that's what you really need. And then from there, if you're going to do less than the 28.5%, you would want to check that with another worker who would be doing more, so because you can balance it out. So if one worker does 60% client work and the other worker does 0% client work, it all balances out because they could do the internal ops instead. So do you understand the general estimated percentage client work?
Yeah.
And again, your goal is 28.5%. And this is really just the number of hours, right? Let's say it's 30 hours divided by 55 hours total is just the percentage of the total hours worked from the actual client hours. Okay, does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
So then I would put the primary client work. So this would be super quick, like I'm mainly working on Mission Within. I'm doing sponsorship program. I'm also working some on Plasma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really quickly, just throw in what you're working on. And then, like, let's say you work on 10 different clients. Just put the top, like, 2 or 3. You don't need to list every single one. Okay? So any question about the client work?
No.
No? All right. So then the next one would be the internal ops work. So internal ops has to do, oh, and also Mars session, right? So we've been working on Mars session. Mars session would be considered client work, right? So internal ops work would include pretty much anything that's not client work and is not planning or meetings. So that would include, well, I think, let's see. We can hear you. All right, so internal ops work. So I would say I probably work, 20% internal ops work, sometimes more. So your internal ops work would be your payroll, worker coordination, right? Documentations, like you're doing the documentations, the ownership verification, right? So that's all internal ops work. Because internal ops is not client work, it's different than the client work, right? Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about the internal ops work? Wahoo? I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Did you have any questions about the internal ops work?
No.
No. Okay. So then the last one is estimated assigned work. The estimated assigned work would be any other work that you did that wasn't internal ops and that wasn't client work, right? So this could be work that you were that is assigned work, but it's just simply it's not billable, right? So the internal ops work is billable, client work is billable. Assigned work is just other work that you have assigned, but that's just not billable as internal ops or client work, right? So this would be, but it also wouldn't be your meetings and everything. So I don't really do pretty much hardly any work that's not like direct assigned work. So in my case, I'm just gonna add up mine. Maybe I'll do 80%. Right, so I have 80% assigned work, which means I have a little bit of assigned work, but mainly client work and internal ops work. And then this I'm going to leave blank because I don't usually do other assigned work because I'm so busy with all the client work and other things. But let's say you didn't do any client work and you didn't do any internal ops and you only worked on assigned work that wasn't billable, you would want to definitely put what you did, right? An example of this could be, maybe your documentations, right? The documentations, what is it? Owner verification. So that is not billable work, right? So it wouldn't necessarily go in the primary internal ops work. So is any questions about the assigned work?
So assigned work, I can say like working on my MBT.
Sure, yeah. Main buddy team updating. Yeah, because that's assigned. It's assigned work. It's also doing work. You could also say work reporting, right? So you're doing your work reporting. That's also assigned work. It's just not billable, right? So it's, yeah. That make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Cool. So output and deliverables is the hardest one of all because there's very little actual work that's output and deliverables. It's like the hardest thing to do. So just some examples of output is like actually finishing the 116° west new moon payroll is complete. So it's only output because I completed it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be output. Another example would be the new bank account. So new bank accounts with U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo for digital storytellers and Spark. Right, so that's a huge amount of work that I did to get those accounts. So those accounts are done, they're completed, they exist, it's a deliverable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So an example of what's not a deliverable would be like the Mars session, right? So the Mars session, when you're working on the Mars session, there's not really any deliverables there because it didn't happen yet. It's very hard to have session support deliverables. More applicable would be like the actual responsibility organizing or completing, getting everything set up or a system for the Mars session. Right, so that could be an output, but overall, like session support doesn't have a lot of output. Yeah. Another example of output that's really minor, but technically this document here is output, right? You might not necessarily have this output be yours. I mean, it's all the notes and everything like that, so you might only have like 5%. So like the new moon payroll, maybe for me, I've only get a 33% of that would go towards me. And then some of it would be going towards Lucy and some would be going towards Albina, et cetera, et cetera. So depending on the output, you might not credit yourself for the whole thing, right? So hopefully that makes sense, but this is just trying to list your output and deliverables for the work that you're doing. And eventually we'll also do output for our payroll reporting. Any other ideas, questions, concerns, issues, topics, priorities, or just anything else you want to mention that you want to bring up to the co-chairs, because the co-chairs are going to be overseeing this process. Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have any question on any of it?
No.
Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. So it's pretty simple. And now we have a training video that people can, watch in case they have questions about it. And again, longer to watch the training video than to actually do it. And then I'll push the submit button. So you can certainly edit it if you need to edit it and make changes. And you can also look at the responses, previous responses that other people did. You can see we have 127 responses. You can see who has filled out the form the most. You can see which weeks people are filling it out for. You can see the general estimated number of hours that people are doing, estimated total compensation that people are getting, general client work, but more importantly, you can see what people are actually working on, right? So you can just get a quick overview and kind of see what people have been working on. Also, you have your internal ops work and your assigned work. Okay.
Okay.
Output is going to be a lot less. It's possible a lot of this isn't really output, none. Some people didn't do output. Cool. And then we can also see if there's concern or other issues that come up that people have to make sure that they're being addressed. All right. I think we're good on that. So let's get back to our Maybe we could do a quick video training on the weekly ranking spreadsheet. Do you want me to go over that for you, or do you understand it? Wahoo?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Do you understand the priorities ranking spreadsheet?
Hello.
You're breaking up.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
We can hear it. You can hear us finally.
I just use another alternative. My machine does not work.
Bummer.
I just use my phone to view, then I use the phone to. I can see the phone. I can hear you over the phone.
Cool. Would you like to check in, Lucy?
Yes, I just checked in. I'm feeling bad about this. I don't know how to fix it. The machine, all my machines are not working. I'm at 5. Yeah, last week I worked on the payroll, plasma, budget, and the multimedia. Yeah.
Right. Very cool. All right. So let's see here. What is next? So yeah, we're at the evaluation prioritization. Wahoo, did you understand the Cobalt priorities ranking spreadsheet, or do you want me to go through the ranking spreadsheets, or do you get it? Wahoo?
No.
Lucy, you got a lot of background noise. Maybe you should mute when you're not talking.
Okay.
I can't hear Wahoo. Wahoo?
Yeah.
Do you understand the priorities ranking spreadsheet, or did you want us to go over that?
You can go over that.
Okay, so let's go over that again real quick too and make another training video. So this will be at 27 minutes. Okay, Lucy.
So you don't have a specific stage yet?
What?
You don't have a specific topic, just only training?
Well, it'll take just like a minute to do this. It's really quick. So right now where we are at is we're at our evaluations and prioritization for the Cobalt priorities ranking spreadsheet, okay?
Okay. I'm just there. I did not see. Okay. I did not vote there. I voted.
Cool. So for every main session we do. Hey, Lucy, you're gonna have to mute. It just has lots of feedback. And Lucy?
Yes.
If you could mute, that would be really helpful.
I don't really have any noise. I don't know where noise is coming from.
Well, it's just when I talk, it actually is feedbacking.
Okay, let me mute.
Thanks. All right. So for every main session, we have a prioritization ranking spreadsheet. And so we always are prioritizing all of our work so that everybody has an equal say into what the discussion topics within each meeting are going to be. We break it into 2 sections. There's the internal team setup, which is where we start. Because if we as a team are not set up and organized, then it doesn't matter what we're trying to work on. It's not going to be particularly successful. And then we have our work goals and priorities. So work goals and priorities is what we're actually working to accomplish, what we want to actually do, right? So you click on here, and the first thing that someone's going to do is they're going to make sure that all of the people in the session are listed at the top. So it might even make sense to make this gray. So you want to keep one gray column on either side. And then we're going to go ahead and delete the other columns. For Maricel, let's say Maricel had voted, we're going to cut and bring Maricel over here to the end. and we actually keep people's votes for future sessions, and then we can just easily copy them back in. So we have everyone's votes saved at every time, so that we're able to keep track of it. So for Wahoo in this case, she's the only one who hasn't voted. But if you had already voted, like myself or Lucy, you could just quickly go through and see if you wanted to change anything. So work goals and priorities, maybe I want to make that an 8. I think it's higher priority. Invoice billing, maybe I'm not, it's like, fine. Maybe I'll just do it lower, 6.25 monthly budget. Still think it's important. All right, so you can just quickly go through and update your priorities. You also need to make sure the averaging, like when you cut and paste, sometimes it can go wrong. So this is going to be E to G. So it's E2 to G2 to make sure that it averages out correctly. And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag that down to the bottom so that all of the averaging is correct. Also at the bottom is where you add new priorities, right? So I want to make sure that the sponsorship program would be another deliverable. Training on session and positions. Well, we just did a bunch of that today, which is good. So maybe make it a little lower than I would otherwise. Proposals and voting forms, also important, but not that. Selling calendar calculations. This is also important, but not that important. Worker coordination policies. Cool. So you want to just make sure you're updating all of the averaging. Something got changed here. So this again is going to be E2 to G2. Why someone would change that? But okay. So then Wahoo, since you haven't voted yet, you would actually need to go through each one. We can average them and then we can prioritize them. So for example, if we were prioritizing this, you can see what the top 10 currently are. So for someone who's new voting, you don't need to do all, in this case, 50 of them. That's a lot. And there should be a backlog. It looks like we're missing the backlog. So what happens is that we can prioritize the backlog, but then we can cut this down and put all the bottom 30 or so we could put in the backlog and just focus on the top 20, 30, or 20, 25. And then our backlog would be a link to a separate spreadsheet where we go through all of the backlog every once in a while. So Wahoo, what would you put between 0 and 9 for the budget? So he's voting between 0 and 9 for the budget. Wahoo, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, 5.
Okay, so you would vote a 5. So then you would want to go to the spreadsheet. Are you at the spreadsheet already?
Let me go to the spreadsheet.
Yeah, well, the first thing you do is click on the link and you want to go to the spreadsheet for sure. That's always the first step. Also, I'll just note one thing while you're doing that. The ones that are colored, so like the backlog, the team setup verification, and the work goals and priorities, these particular priorities are actually a little different than other ones because they actually take you somewhere. So work goals and priorities would take you to the work goals and priorities, which is a whole nother list of dozens of other priorities, right? And these are just our external goals of what we're trying to accomplish as a team, whereas our team setup is our internal goals. Our team setup verification is going to a separate spreadsheet where we actually verify to what level and extent our team is set up, and so we're actually doing evaluation and reporting. And then, of course, the backlog is when we actually go and vote and update our entire backlog to refresh our entire priorities list instead of just the top 20 or 30 or so. It's like all 60, 100, however many priorities that we have. On the work goals and priorities, the team setup is where you go from your overall priorities as your external priorities of your work goals and client work back to your internal team setup, which is why it's blue. And so on this one, when I'm voting over here, let's go ahead and make these gray so that it helps keep things organized. So over here, when I'm voting, I want to increase the sponsorship program. So I'm going to go ahead and make that an 8.25 because there's important things with sponsorship program policies. Yeah. And then also we want to do Marcel here and put Marcel over here. Some of these people aren't really like Mozzie. Yeah. Okay. And then Wasu is already here. So let's see how your internal team setup is going. There you go. Yeah, so you're voting now. Perfect. Exactly. So you just go through it, at least vote for the top 10, 15. You don't need to do all of the ones that are really low, because we typically only get to the top, 4, 5, 6 agenda items in any particular meeting. But then we have our agenda and our priorities set up for the next meeting, so that we never forget them, and we're always making sure that we're going to go through everything eventually, even though we can't go through all of it in the very first meeting. All right. So I think that is pretty good.
Okay.
And what's so good about this is it doesn't matter whether you have 2 people, 3 people, 10 people, 20 people. It just very quickly averages all the priorities and will give us a list of exactly what the top priorities are based on whoever shows up to the meeting. And it's just very important that we're organizing, as a group and not just, a single person. All right, so I think that's it for there. Lucy or Wahoo, do you have any questions about our priorities, our prioritization?
No.
Great. The only other thing I'll mention here is that during quarter moon, new moon, and full moons, all that, right? For our global core team and our steering team, we only do our work goals and priorities and prioritizing the actual client work and the the team goals once per month. So we only do that once per month, and then at the other times you just check through and review it, but we still do every time we update our internal team setup. We just don't update the work goals and priorities every week. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Awesome. All right, so I think we're done with that. Any other questions from you, Lucy? Cool. So we have 2 really good training videos. We have one for the Global Weekly Check-In, which was about 10 minutes. And we have one for prioritization ranking, which was about 10 minutes as well. So these are both really good videos that we would want to add to our top 10 videos for new recruits. So add new training videos for Okay, can someone do that? Hello?
I will add it.
Wahoo, can you do that?
Yeah.
Cool. So all you have to do that is you just copy these links. You can link them into the actual notes. Then you want to do these 2, the Global Weekly Check-In Form training and the Prioritization Ranking training. Or this would be the main session, Prioritization Ranking. Prioritization Ranking. Or no, it's Prioritization Spreadsheet. And so then those 2 trainings will be in this doc. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Let's move on. So what is next? Desired outcomes and topics. Anyone have any desired outcomes for today besides obviously doing basic trainings on positions and prioritization? So we did that. Anything else?
Sponsorship program.
Sponsorship
Can we go to
program. But sponsorship program would actually be a topic. And I already put the topic down here, so we'll give it a bold. But that's not a desired outcome. You guys know the difference between a desired outcome and a topic?
Not a desired outcome, just a topic.
Yeah. Any other desired outcomes or topics? Let's see what our priorities are. So then we would come over here and we're going to average out our priorities. So I'm going to rank them. And we have here the Selenium calendar calculations have become the top priority. So you can see here how, you know, a single person can dramatically change the priorities because every person's vote counts. Right? So it's really important to make sure we give each person an opportunity to vote and prioritize. So Lucy, I don't know if you want to vote on the Selenium calendar calculation, but you know, unfortunately Zilu's not here, but we can still talk about it and he can watch the video.
Do we have changes on that?
What?
Do you have changes on Selenium calendar?
Well, there was a couple calculations that were a problem that I wanted to go over with Zilu. He's not here today, but you know, everybody should understand the Selenium calendar, you know, especially if people are using it for their work reporting. So if people have questions about the Selenium calendar, this would be the time to bring it up. And obviously Wahoo is prioritizing it very high. Did you want to vote as well, Lucy, or not?
It's okay.
If you just say a number between 0 and 9, we can add your number in where you would prioritize Selenium calendar. You didn't vote on this.
I don't even see where is it on our doc.
It's on the spreadsheet. It's on the Cobalt prioritization spreadsheet. But I'm asking you, how would you prioritize Selenium calendar from 0 to 9? I can fill it in for you.
7.
A 7. Done. Okay, so then that gets all of our priorities, and there we go. So then we can go ahead, I'd say 10 to 15 minutes on this. Technically, usually we just do 10 to 15 minutes on each thing, or at least 5 minutes minimum. Also, it looks like there's a couple other changes here. So let's get this all organized. All right, so you can see here the backlog is here. So someone would need to create another spreadsheet for the backlog for the Cobalt session, for the Cobalt main session. And then 36 and down to 55, this would all become part of the backlog. But for the backlog, you would paste and copy the entire spreadsheet, like everything. You'd want everything in the backlog, not just the bottom 36 and 35, but after you would do this, you would delete anything under the backlog. After you create the backlog, you would delete everything under the backlog. Does that make sense? That makes sense, right? Okay, cool. So we're gonna take the top 10, and for our topics for today, we just copy and paste them in here. And there is our top 10 priorities. Okay. Does anyone have any objections? Oh, actually, let's go on to the. So you can see here that our number 1 priority is Selenium calendar. Number 2 priority is the work goals and priorities, right? So we're gonna go ahead and also do our work goals and priorities and see where those come in. So if we go to our work goals and priorities. Wahoo hasn't voted here yet, so you might want to vote on the top 10 here. And Lucy, you said you wanted to prioritize sponsorship, but your sponsorship is only a 6. So did you want to change the sponsorship prioritization? Right now it comes out at like number 9 or so. Yeah, it's sponsorship programs number 9.
The sponsorship is number, I'm just looking. Okay.
So maybe people should finish voting. Maybe everyone could just quickly finish voting. And some of these I make, you know, like the budget's internal. So we can give it like a, you know, internal color. Wahoo, are you planning on voting on the work goals and priorities or no? Lucy, are you planning on voting on the work goals and priorities?
Yes, yes, yes. Maybe.
Yeah, so that's significantly evolved and updated our priorities there. Cool. So yeah, it's always good to keep these updated throughout the week. You actually can update them regularly regardless. And technically we could consider actually just doing the global ones, but it's good to prioritize Cobalt separate from Missouri, etc., and all the different super teams. And also, of course, you can skip this and just do your topics and choose your topics, which is also perfectly fine. But once you get organized, it goes pretty quickly. It's just a matter of being organized, and we can accomplish a lot more this way. Oh, good. Wahoo's voting. And of course, the nicest thing is that it actually, instead of just randomly choosing topics, it actually prioritizes them so that we are all involved in the prioritization process. So the ones that are internal, so client priorities is technically internal and external, right? I would say it's even external, right? But the ones that are internal, like budget, onboarding, coordination, these would also go in our internal team setup.
Okay.
Yeah. But eventually we would separate it all, right? We don't need any of the internal work inside of our, you know, our group work, right? So our work goals and priorities eventually should just be work goals and priorities, but you technically can add internal priorities as well if necessary. But we can skip them as well too. All right. So does everyone feel good about this? Are we good on these? Looks like there's a couple changes here. But it looks like our top 10 is getting pretty stable. Okay. So I think we have our top 10 priorities here for our goals. So what you can see here is if we go with this agenda of these topics, we would start with the selling and calendar. Then we would go to our work goals and priorities. And then our work goals and priorities, we're going to quickly review them all. And then we're going to go into the first one, which is client priorities and client priority coordination, then sponsorship program, mode taxes, double check on the budget, make sure that's good, onboarding, coordination, finances, and taxes. And then we would go back to internal team setup at number 7. And then at that point, we come into vibes, nonviolent communications, more budget work is needed, full moon deadline. Does that make sense? Everyone make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So are there any objections to the, or any other questions, any other desired outcomes, any other topics that we're missing?
No.
All right, are there any objections to our topics? All right, so we're good. So now so we finished our desired outcomes and topic review. We're gonna review our schedule. So we're supposed to have a break at the top of the hour. And we're also supposed to do 30-second stretch at the bottom of the hour. Wahoo, you're the timekeeper, right? Wahoo?
Still 6 minutes remaining.
Okay, but remember, just at the bottom of the hour, we want to do our 30-second stretch breaks. I think it's probably a good time. Let's finish the proposals and decision stock section. And then let's go ahead and take like a 3 to 5 minute break, and then we can go into our first agenda item on the Selenium calendar, okay?
Okay.
Cool. All right, so from there, we've got Zuri coming up. What about, we have a quarter moon coming up? What about the quarter moon? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
All the planetary sessions are in September. Okay, so we kind of have a break. We just have our lunar sessions for now. Although I do want to put a task here to double check on galactic sessions. So I'm not sure if anyone's done that recently. So let's add that as a task and make sure someone could remind Zilu to double check on the galactic sessions. And we also want to make sure they are added to the calendar and scheduling verification. They're not already. Okay. So can someone do that and remind Zilu?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Wahoo.
I'll do it.
Great.
Okay.
Wahoo. All right. Proposals and proposals doc. So we do have a new proposal. Does anyone else have any proposals? So we already did the vacation training worker. The vacation worker and travel proposal has already made some significant impacts that have been good, although we still need to follow up on it. But this new proposal is regarding the sponsorship program, and it's simply to change the policy for leadership committees. You have to have a minimum, right? Change the policy for non-profit leadership committees. I guess they would technically non-profit charity leadership committees. You have a minimum of 2 independent leaders or decision makers from the oversight boards or councils. All right, so we just need to make sure that those organizations have independence, so that during the sponsorship section, we might go over that, okay?
Okay.
So that's the proposal, and we want to get that proposal by the quarter moon or the new moon to make sure it's voted on. And then this proposal also does need to go to the board. So this must go to the WCDC/board. So that's a board coordination as well. Any other proposals, questions about proposals? Yeah, we haven't been doing too good on our voting forms. So we do need to get better on that. And voting forms does need to be added to our list of, let's just make sure. So make sure voting forms has been added to soft/hard stop responsibilities. Can someone do that? Hello?
Yes. How now? You know, I don't understand. You say make sure the form has a stop solution. So
Just on the doc, so the hard stop, soft stop responsibilities doc, there's a list of things to add, and we want to add voting forms as well. Yeah, I can do it if you don't want to do it. What?
Which voting form are you talking about? The general one? When voting form?
No, I'm just saying that on the soft hard stop responsibilities coordination doc, that there's a list of things to add to the soft stop responsibilities, and I want to make sure we're adding voting forms is a responsibility that needs to be a soft hard stop responsibility.
Okay, I'll add.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. All right, so I think we're ready for our break. So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, or 3 to 5 minute break, and then we'll come back, and our first topic will be working on the selling calendar. Okay?
Okay.
And I think we could probably keep the selling calendar down to 5 minutes unless there's a lot of questions. We'll just see. Okay?
Okay.
And Lucy, you are doing video indexing?
Yes.
Good. All right. So let's take a break.
I'm back. Hello.
Hello. I'm back to you now.
I'm back.
Right. So Wahoo. So the Selenium calendar technically has both internal and external aspects to it. So the Selenium calendar product and organization would be the external, and the internal would be more like a use of the calendar for our own functioning. So you happen to put the highest vote here, Wahoo. So is there anything particular they have a question about that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, the calculation.
The calculations for just
the calendar. There's a way Zulu calculate.
Just the update, the updates that we just did recently?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can show you those updates very easily. I'll just kind of do a review of what we have right now. Okay. So for me on my main doc, and specifically my work reporting doc, just right here, I have a link directly to the Selenium days. So I can click on that anytime I need to when I'm doing my work reporting and coordinating. And you probably are going to want to maybe even do that in the template, like the template work reporting doc. So we could add that in as a task as well. So we could add a task. Calendar equivalence link to template work reporting doc. But for now, let's at least get it linked here into our notes. So these are the Selenium days Gregorian equivalents. So we'll just add it there. So if you're doing like I believe you're signed up for the position during our session, Wahoo, of our work tracker. So we're doing task master, task responsibility master, or work tracker. you would go ahead and go up to the priority work, and then you paste this task at the top so that it's under our priority work. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so that. It's pretty simple, but it's important to do throughout the meeting to keep all of the tasks and work organized. So when you actually go to this spreadsheet, the first tab that you're going to find here on the left is the moon months. So this is extremely helpful because anyone doing calculations, budgeting, work reporting, whatever, it's just really helpful to know what month it is, right? So the Gregorian months are just the month equivalent. So currently we're in the July, August Gregorian month. But the moon month is it's exactly the 138 degree east. It started on July 13th and will end exactly on August 11th. Okay, so the nice thing about the moon month is that it ends at an exact time, at the same time all across the entire world, whereas a Gregorian month, it ends and begins within a 48, sometimes even
72.
sometimes even like a 50, 60, even longer hour stretch of what day it might end on throughout the world, because different places of the world have different Gregorian dates simultaneously. So this is the moon date. So if you're calculating if someone writes August, September, it's the equivalent of writing 31 degree east. There's no difference. So the August, September moon month is the 31 degree east moon month. So are there any questions?
The moon month is what I don't understand. Why does anybody get 138?
Why is it 138 degree?
138, 31 degree, 82 degree.
Okay, yeah. I can back up a second. Then let me just talk about the Selenium calendar. So I'm not going to go in detail on the Selenium calendar right now. You can watch a video for that. But Selenium calendar basics, the most important thing of the Selenium calendar is that it synchronizes scientifically physical space and time. So one of the things that Einstein taught us about time is that it's relative based on actual physical existence. And so what we work, one of the ways that I designed the Selenium calendar was that it actually is based on space-time, right? So we call this space-time. And space-time is, it synchronizes the movement of the planets and specifically the movement of the Earth in relationship to the moon and the sun in actual time, in actual space, that is, right? So if we're talking about this current moon month, we're currently in the 138 degree east moon month, which is July-August equivalency, right? And so the way that you would see that on the planet is you go to the meridian map of the world. Some meridian maps are a lot better than others. But let's see if we have a reasonable map here. This one looks good right here. So you can see here you have on the west side meridians, so 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. These are the west meridians. And then you have the east meridians, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. Right, so there's 360 meridians, but the way that the world organizes them is into 280 degree halves, right? So in this particular context, for this moon month, it's the 138th degree east moon month, right? So if you go here to the meridian map and you go to 138, it would be right around here. So it crosses maybe a little bit of Japan. It's going to cross maybe a little Indonesia or Malaysia. And then also you have here, it crosses right through the middle of Australia. And obviously up through Russia, right? So at this point of the planet, right? And if you look at a map of the Earth, Moon, Sun, alignment. And this would be for the new moon. So this would be a new moon here. So the question is, why would this be a new moon? It's a new moon because the moon is facing the sun. And so when we on the earth look at the moon, it's all dark, right? Whereas the sun, if you were on the sun and you were looking at the moon, it would be bright light, bright white. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But since we're on the earth and we look at the moon, we actually see the dark side. So therefore it's a new moon because the moon is aligned perfectly directly between the sun and the earth. A full moon is the opposite, where the earth is in between the sun and the moon, in which case the moon would be over on this side. Okay, but for the new moon, for whatever reason, the new moon is considered the highest alignment of the moon with the earth. And we could talk about that more, but overall, everybody considers the new moon to be the primary alignment of the moon and the sun, where the moon is with the sun. It also is the only time you ever get solar eclipses, which are the highest level eclipses, have to happen during new moons. So it aligns with exactly 12 noon. So the Selene calendar starts at 12 noon. So the Selene calendar starts each month at exactly 12 noon when the moon is in exact alignment with the sun, right? And you basically can't see the moon unless it is a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse. So the only time that you can see the moon when it has exact alignment is if the moon goes directly in front of the sun exactly, in which case there's a total solar eclipse, and then you can actually see the moon. The moon is black in front of the bright sun. All right. So the question is, where does this alignment take place on the earth? The answer is, where does this alignment take place on the earth? And the answer is the exact meridian of the moon month. Okay, so if you look at the moon months, the 138-degree east moon month is the exact actual physical meridian of the earth that is in exact alignment at exact noon, right, at 12 o'clock noon in the Selene calendar, with the new moon facing the sun and the moon exactly directly in front of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on July 13th, on Friday, July 13th at 2:48 a.m., right? UTC, right? That would be UTC. It would be exactly in the Selene calendar, 12 o'clock noon, in the meridian. This would be the actual path of the moon in front of the sun, and it would be exactly aligned with Australia, Japan, and it would be high noon, right on that part of the earth. So it would just exactly align with that part of the earth. Okay. And then I can show you the actual calculations for that. But if that answers your question, then that's all you need to know. But it's really easy to calculate that.
The calculation, it is okay.
You're good? You don't need the calculation exactly?
I need the calculation. I need to see the calculation.
Cool. All right. So the next thing that we want to go is to the Selene, or actually the calendar and schedules doc. So I go to the calendar and schedule doc. And then in the calendar schedule doc, you have the actual Selene calendar main doc, right? So the Selene calendar itself is an organization, so it's a main doc, because it's a huge, massive undertaking to create a whole new global calendar. So it has its own budget, its own organization, its own products. We have many products for the Selene calendar. Hopefully one day we'll start selling them and making money on it. Selene calendar main doc. And so the question here is how the calculations work. And the spreadsheet that you would use for that is this one, the Selene Moon Meridian Sync Calendar 2. So this is the old one, the original one, and this is the new one. I'm not sure if I have access to it, but hopefully we do, and we can show you how to calculate. I also think it's worthwhile to note here that everything happens, everything synchronizes with the solstice. We're not going to go over the solstice calculations, but this gives you a lot more detailed information about the eras and the epochs, and there's all these different aspects the Selene calendar synchronizes beyond just the moon month. And so you get 2 half years. There's no difference between the northern solstice and the southern solstice. And we just crossed the 116° west moon month, which is the current half year. So it might be helpful for you to understand if I just add in here one additional moon month. This is the 116° west half year. So this would be June, July, and it's good to know that this is the half year. So when you see that today, if we go to our Cobalt session, we see at the top that it's 22/116W. It means it's the 20th day of the second moon month of the 116° west half year. So there's 2 half years. There's no difference. There's no scientific difference between the northern solstice and the southern solstice. So therefore, there's no reason for us to separate it into a single year. It's 2 totally independent and equal half years, according to science, right? In terms of a scientific calculation. So we don't make any differentiation between the half years. So in a half year, we'll have anywhere between 6 and 7 months in it, because there's a leap month for lunar solar calendars. So right now we're in the 138° east, and then you get the 131, 90°, 123. So it's very easy to calculate. Let's take this one. The 123 would be October 9th, Tuesday at 3:47 a.m. So you go to the calculation tab. You would put in the hours. In this case, it would be 3 hours and 47 minutes. And then that gives you exactly 123. 123.25, and we round down in this case because it's 0.25. And you can see this is a negative, so it would be east. So if it's 123 negative, it's on the east side of the hemisphere, whereas if it was 123 positive, it would be on the west side. So in here you have 0347 is the time. So it's 123° east. So because it's exactly 12 noon, and we know that it's exactly in alignment with the sun and the moon, the time of the day is reflected based on our meridians. Like our entire global time synchronization system with the Gregorian calendar and our 24-hour time system is all based on the meridians, which is why we use the meridians for our time. So if you look at, let's do the next one, 1606, right? So if you go to the calculation and you put in 16 for the hours and you put in 6 for the minutes, you get 6150. So this would be rounded up. So it'd be 62 positive, which would be 62 west. And you can see here 62 west. Okay?
Okay.
So that gives you the exact position on the Earth, that the moon is in exact alignment with the sun for high noon, when the moon is at exact new moon.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and so it's very cool because it actually gives a physical location on the Earth with every time. When you start actually calculating the rest of the calendar, which I don't want to go in detail because it would take a long time, but we can show you really quick. And Zilu does a lot of these calculations. He can show you how to do it. It's pretty simple, but it does take a little bit of effort. Every single day, every single hour, every single minute has an exact point in space-time on the Earth that is the percentage of that particular day. And you can see the degrees. So the 138-degree moon month started on the first day of the Selenian calendar. It was the 138-degree. And then every day it progresses. And you can see every single day has its own degree of how it aligns with the Earth based on the alignment with the sun. And then when it comes back around to the next moon month, it would be exactly at the 31 degrees. Because the next moon month is at 31 degrees, right? So it goes from 138 to 31 degrees in that moon month, and that's all calculated based on each day's change in the percentage moon time. And then you also have all of the percentage moon sphere, the percentage moon circle, and then you have 12 noon, right, is the actual time. And the only other details here is that like the eighth moons would happen at 3 o'clock p.m. So this would be p.m. for the first eighth moon would be 3 o'clock p.m. The quarter moon would be 6 p.m. And then the full moon always happens at midnight. So the full moon happens at the opposite of the new moon. So instead of it being noon during the day, the full moon happens in the middle of the night at exactly midnight. And then so on and so forth. And then eventually you get to the next one. So hopefully that gives you a little more information about the Selenian calendar and answers your questions about the calculations. It's a fully scientifically based calendar. There's nothing else like it that I've ever seen or ever known to exist. I think it's the most accurate and most scientific based time system that's ever been created in my knowledge. There could be something else that's more, but it's pretty cool. And it synchronizes a lot. And if you want more information just in general, you would go to this doc right here. So if I go back to our notes, I'll add the info doc. So this is the Selenian calendar info doc. If you link on this, I can't remember exactly how long it is. We will see in a minute here when it comes up. Scientific alignment-based lunisolar timekeeping. That's what the Selenian calendar is. And it gives a whole summary, you got a summary intro, aligned cycles, scientific time, all the benefits, all the drawbacks of the Selenian calendar. There's lots of problems to the Selenian calendar as well. It doesn't replace 24-hour time. It also doesn't replace the Gregorian calendar. There are needs and uses for both. But overall, this is about, let's see, about 20 pages, 18 pages it says. You know, so you can read all about the Selenian calendar if you'd like to, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I think that's pretty much it for there. So obviously we're gonna want to, you know, index the video indexing into the Selenian calendar doc. Can you do that, Lucy?
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, so next is our work goals and priorities. So we're gonna go through all of our priorities for our work goals. And then we're gonna start talking about them, okay? Are there any other questions about the Selenian calendar before we move on?
No, so far no.
Okay, also we are perfectly right at the bottom of the hour, so we can go ahead and do our 30-second stretch break and then also drink a sip of water. So stretch break. All right, I'm back. I will say one other thing about the Selenium calendar is that the fact that it is scientific has nothing to do with why we use it. The reason why we actually use the Selenium calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar is because it's so much more efficient for global organizing. So when we talk about a day and deadlines, when we give a Gregorian date, it's just not clear what the deadline is, and then people get confused with UTC because they confuse UTC with their own time, and there's like 40 different times across the world, and they all are the same format, so you just create confusion. Whereas with the Selenium calendar, you have very, very clear, specific times to exact minutes, so that everyone across the whole world is synchronized on the same time and same dates and same everything. So it helps tremendously. Okay.
Okay.
And it also is nice because every single month of every single day within every single month is exactly the same every single month. You don't have any changes with the Gregorian calendar. Every month is different. Some months have 5 weeks, some months have 4 weeks, some months have 30 days, some months have 28 days, some months have 31 days. So with the Selenium calendar, you always have the exact same number of days and weeks per month. So it helps with accounting and finances as well, which is very helpful too. All right, and that's just the beginning. There's many, many other benefits, but those are like obviously the main ones. All right, so let's go on to our work goals and priorities. So in this section, we want to spend 10 to 15 minutes doing what we call clear goals for each priority. Okay. Also, I want to mention that we are going to be doing priority organizing. Every priority is going to be organized and have clarity on what it is. So a priority could be a project, a priority could be a responsibility, a priority could be a topic, a priority could be a lot of different things. So we want to organize the priorities, make sure we understand what they are and what the goal for each priority is. Is there anything else people wanted to do out of this, or are you ready to go?
We are ready to go.
Okay, so it's going to be quick, like 1 minute per priority, okay? So we're going to do this quick, and then we're going to go through it slower with each one after we go through it quickly. So the first one is the client priorities, right? So if we look at client priorities, this is primarily what's called a position. So this is a coordinator position, right? The goal is to coordinate our client work and make sure we are organizing our time efficiently to achieve our client output and internal tabulation or invoicing, internal invoicing for our budgets. Is there any other goal related to our client priorities or specific tasks? So we want to. So obviously, we want to continue to update the client work doc, right? Client priorities, right? Any questions about our client priorities and client work coordinator position?
So what should the coordinator do for client coordinator?
Well, currently we don't really have one. Currently, we don't have a client work coordinator. So we know that people have signed up for it, like Teresa and Lucy, but no one's really taking on, but they are not taking on the client work coordinator position.
We don't know what we should do. That is a problem.
Well, what is the first thing you always do? So So position organizing would consist of having a position doc, right? You know, listing the goals and the priorities, and then steps for, you know, and then maybe the steps and responsibilities. You could start with that.
So Jay, can we just follow it? Because we don't really have many people checking on clients. So what else should we do? Can we just remind him or other?
Well, do you understand the goal? The goal is that the coordinator is, you're coordinating the client work, making sure that we're organized, that we know who is doing, right? Like who is doing what client work. Make sure every client has a doc, a client doc, right? Right? And then make sure client work has clear responsibilities and even schedules, right? When is it, how much work needs to be done for each client? Who's doing it? When is the scheduling? When is it scheduled to happen? Deadlines, deadlines, right? We have the Mo taxes due soon, right?
Yeah.
So these are all questions that could be answered by the client coordinator position. You'd want to index this into the client coordinator position doc or the client work doc. Okay. So does that make sense now? Do you understand the goal?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you understand the goal, we're going to move on, but we're going to go back to it. So right now, we're doing this priority. We're doing the work goals and priorities. We're going to quickly review each of our goals, our top 10 or so, and then we're going to go back to the client priorities, and we're going to go through it in much more detail, okay? For an additional 10 to 15 minutes. So now we're going to go on to the sponsorship program. For just a minute or two, we're going to prioritize, like, what is the goal of the sponsorship program for the next week? And then later, we're going to go back through it in detail for an additional 10 to 15 minutes, okay? Do you understand? All right, so next is sponsorship program. So here we have a few different goals. So we just got the new bank account set up, right? So we need to, you know, finalize admin fees and start transfers to new bank accounts.
Sponsorship, is it for client or for network or for, how does it look?
So the sponsorship program is a little bit confusing. So you have the FQN workers have these Mo sponsorship program as a client, right? Then you have the sponsorship program itself is its own organization, right? Or actually it's a program, right? Program/organization that runs itself, right? Then you have sponsored programs, which are individual programs that are sponsored within the network, right? And so this is where we have like 30 of these. So there's like 30 programs. This is one single org, right? And then this is our client. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Wahoo. Yes. Lucy, kindly can you mute, because on my side the J is breaking up. Can you speak? Thank you.
So this would be considered a mini glossary. We would want to add this to the sponsorship program, either the client doc or the sponsorship doc. So there's also sponsorship, which is the concept and coordination of all sponsorship processes, right? And actually responsibilities. Responsibilities on all sides. So this is this is a doc. So you have the sponsorship as a concept, right? And this is a project. There's one single project that oversees all sponsorship. And you have the sponsorship program client. This sponsorship program itself is its own organization. Then you have the sponsored programs, which are all of the many programs within the sponsorship systems that are actually doing that. And then I guess the only other part here is the umbrella entity are the actual legal entities that do the taxes and oversee the sponsored projects and policies. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so back to the sponsorship program. So also we can add here that we want to, update the mini glossary. Make sure it is in the sponsorship doc. This would be a task. Finalize admin fees and start transfers to your bank accounts. Obviously, this is responsibilities, various responsibilities. What else? There's also the new policy update. So we have the new policy proposal for leadership committees that we need to get passed through the nonprofit boards. We also need to address the complications and situations with digital storytellers and Bay Area Creative with the percentage admin fees and other insurance issues. And then we also have Spark Insurance. So there's a lot to do with the sponsorship program for sure. So these two are going to be J real-time assistant work. But everything else is pretty much anyone should be able to help out with that, at least Lucy and Albina. Okay. So are there any other questions about the sponsorship program?
What about the missing, on the sponsorship program, we have the program that are, the money goes to the wrong program. What happened in that scenario?
Well, that's what we need to get finalized for the admin fees and then start transferring to the bank accounts.
Okay.
And again, I would recommend doing one program at a time. So in other words, skip Bay Area Creative. Right? Because Bay Area Creative is very complicated because it's a whole umbrella, and Bay Area Creative even wants to spin off and become their own separate nonprofit umbrella with all their programs, right? So what we're talking about here is digital storytellers, Spark Poetry, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right, so it'll be much easier to do individual programs and then go back and do Bay Area Creative afterwards. Okay?
Okay.
So that's what I'm recommending. So if you do each of the individual programs under Bay Area Creative, then by the time you get to Bay Area Creative, it should be pretty organized. All right, but then the other thing here is there's also this policy. So know how we have all the, we need sponsorship policies. Sponsorship policies organizing. You know, we need to begin ensuring all the policies are being tracked, organized, understood, and followed. Right? So there needs to be a variety of soft/hard stop or other sponsorship policies that we need to start overseeing for the program. So this would also, so this would be sponsorship policies implementation. We have sponsorship policy organizing. We need to make sure that all of the policies for the sponsor. So know how we have all the policies for workers and all the policies for how we do our budget and our worker, budget proposals and tracking and payments and all that, right? Right? You guys understand? We have all those policies. So what we need to do is we also need to organize all of our sponsorship policies for all the programs to make sure that we're following the policies, and it's just extremely important, you know? And we also might need, so we just need to be following these policies. It's just really important that we're following the policies, because right now we're not following the policies, and that is just creating a huge amount of problems, and we're losing a lot of money and time because of it. Once we are able to implement our policies, so like long-term, after we implement our policies and are organized, then we can go public and bring in even more money, right? So it's just silly to not be organizing ourselves, because we just lose money, right? So by prioritizing the sponsorship program, and then hopefully we'll be increasing the sponsorship program and growing it, we'll be able to go public and get more sponsored programs. Easier said than done. So I think that's it for our sponsorship goals.
The policy of sponsorship program.
What?
Do you have policy for a sponsorship program?
Yeah,
so far?
Of course. We have more policies for the sponsorship program than we do worker coordination policies or worker policies or any of our other policies. I mean, the policies for the sponsorship program are probably more complicated than the policies for anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, we have lots of policies. But we need help implementing them. And we also are able to increase the budget for the sponsorship program to almost like between that and the taxes, it's over like $600 a month, almost more than that. $600 to $700 a month is our budget for the sponsorship and taxes. So we should start using that money, and then hopefully that money can increase if we actually do a good job and we're actually organized.
Yeah.
All right. So any other questions about the sponsorship program? So we need to index into the sponsorship doc or and slash.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Great. And there's also going to be a backlog here as well. Priorities. And we did sponsorship program. Mo taxes. So Mo taxes
Wow,
is
perfect.
other half of the sponsorship program. So this is where we do all the taxes, right?
Yeah.
So what are the goals for this? So ideally, we would have the Innovate United taxes done by August 15th. I don't think that's going to happen, but the deadline is the month after that. So we need to get it done. Like we're basically running out of time. And then immediately after, we have to finalize the nonprofit taxes, the individual and nonprofit taxes. So we do need to like, you know, step up and like get this work done, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, ideally, we would get more hands-on involvement from you, Wahoo, as well as Lucy. So ideally, get more people overseeing and helping manage this, not just Zelu. Like Zelu, we can't depend on Zelu. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because Zelu is kind of, you know, he's off and on, right? He does good work, but it's like he doesn't really follow through with it and talk about it with people. He sort of like works on his own. What other goals do we have for more taxes? So we need to make sure for Innovate United, for profit, we must do good cause group finalizing of the umbrella ledger. This is super important. And then we need to get the overall categories finalized. We have to do the K1s for the Econaut investment. I think that's pretty much it, you know, and then it's just like finalizing the actual tax form and get it sent in. I would say overall this could be, you know, 20 to 40 hours of work. And this is the time to do it. We just need to get that done and then, you know, give out the bonuses to just, you know, we'll have the bonus tokens now. We don't have the actual upfront bonuses, but the bonus tokens are going to be pretty sweet. So we just need to get this done. We have a deadline. It's super important. Also, very, very important. So we have a major deadline. We must have soft/hard stop coordination on this. You know, I would say that, you know, by basically August, no, I would say August 15th really would be soft stop. And then August, and then you would have September 1st would be a hard stop. You know, I mean, we got to get it done. So we have 2 weeks for until to get the soft stop, and then we'd have a month before hard stop, and then it just needs to get done. We have to get these taxes done, you know?
Yeah. So what's the most important step that remain on more taxes?
This two right here, these ones right here. So this would be number 1, in my opinion, number 2, and number 3. So after we get 1, 2, and 3 completed, then finalizing the actual tax forms and getting it all sent in should not be a problem.
Okay. What about the missing categories that I see Zero creating separate missing category?
We need to go through it, step by step. And when we finish the payroll, we should prioritize it and go through it. So right now, we're just trying to get the goals set up. If we were going through this afterwards, we're going to go back through and actually go and spend a full 10 to 15 minutes on the mode taxes, if not longer, and like deep dive into it. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yes.
So this would get indexed into the tax plan / mode taxes client doc. Okay? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Great. All right, next is the budget. Budget internal. So sometimes we put internal work inside of our overall work goals because the budget's just really important, right? So we don't want to forget the budget. We're saying the budget is less important than the taxes, but it's more important than the onboarding or the finances, other finances and taxes. Okay?
Okay.
So I would call this umbrella accounting. This is borderline internal, but it's still kind of client work. Okay, where are we now? So budget goals. I'm not sure exactly where we're on the budget, but we know that we need to. Finalize the budget options. We need to get back to all of the new main buddy teams with a decision. We should be able to quickly recalculate Mazi and Mamoon and see where they rank. Is that it? I mean, we're doing pretty good on our budget. Our budget's improving a lot. Is there anything else? We need to finish the not sponsorship, the other one, the 3.5x. So this is Osmo member / Legion, and that's the third component. I think I have it right here. So accountability reporting, Legion member services, and multimedia support. So these three last things for the budget need to be finalized, but it's really close. But you can see we're most likely gonna have a slight increase in the budget from 1,600 up a little bit, and this is our potential budget. Oh, and then we have to figure out options for old world and new world super teams. So we might need to move people around on the super teams. Can you think of anything else, or is that everything? Or
even though we are going to increase our budget, are we going to fit all of these people who are coming up with the MBTs? Like Paula.
I mean, there's no way we could fit everybody, but more importantly, you know, we need to do is we need to do new recruitment. So the new recruitment is going to be very, very important. I would say that's an internal priority. Let's see where that lies. Recruitment commission. So we're getting rid of the commission because we don't have that anymore, but let's need to do more recruitment. So I'm going to prioritize that a lot higher. I might even get it to the top 10. So that puts recruitment, I think, in the 10th position. Number 10.
The budget for recruitment?
I think the budget for recruitment is very tight, but you know, there's a little bit in there. It should be fine. But the point is that we definitely need help. We need more people involved, and we need people who can fit in our budget, right? So a lot of the old people, they want too much money, right? Which is why we had to cut them out of the budget in the first place. So the probability they're going to fit in the new budget, in our current budget, without reducing their pay rates is very low, right?
Yeah.
But we at least have to consider it. But the point is that we should consider everyone equally, including new recruits, and then consider everybody in the new budget all at once, not just the old people, you know? The idea is that we want to give everybody an opportunity. And I know that there's this whole thing about existing people who've been trained, but nobody's very good at doing anything, or we'd be a lot better off right now. And then secondly, like if someone already got paid thousands of dollars, like maybe a new person deserves an opportunity to get paid too. I mean, everybody needs some money, you know? So it seems like you want to give people an opportunity to make money as well, especially if they can help. Anyways, let's not get into the recruitment. That's a separate issue, but it affects our client work big time because we're already not able to complete all the work that we already have. And part of that is due to the fact that we have workers who don't show up, and we don't have enough workers. I think we're good on the budget. Anything else on the budget? We need to do verification on the global client income tabulation. And this is a hard stop. Soft/hard stop. There's a lot of hard stop, soft stop priorities that need to be coordinated. Do we have that on our list, right? No, soft. So I would say that that is another very, very high top priority. Because I feel like there's a lot of responsibilities that, you know, are on the hard stop and soft stop list, but that we're not organized, we're not actually implementing, you know?
I just need to update my plan.
All right, so shall we move on? Or do you want to take a break? Or do you want to wrap up or check out?
We take a break.
All right, let's take a break. All right, so a 5-minute break. Any other questions about the budget?
We don't have a question for now. Maybe I don't know what we will do also about the inactive members. Is it
Well, we heard from Aline. Aline's supposed to be getting active again. We heard from Joyce. She doesn't want to be involved for another month. So we really do need to get, a clear start date from her. And then we have Teresa. We heard from Teresa. Asif Razu. I think we heard from him. I don't know the exact start date, though. Is there anyone else? Farah. What about Farah? Wahoo, have you heard from Farah?
Did not hear anything from Farah.
Wahoo, have you heard from Farah? Wahoo, you think you're on mute? All right, well, I don't know. Anyway, let's take a break. We'll be back in 5, okay?
Okay. I'm back.
All right. You all back?
Yeah.
Did Wahoo make it back?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. When
Great.
Lucy doesn't mute, it's too much noise. It
Okay.
is like listening to a CD with a scratch.
Yeah, it's
You end
really
up
hard.
having a headache.
So just be sure to mute Lucy when you're not talking. Wahoo, question for you was for Farah. Have you been in touch with Farah? Do you know what's going on with her? Because she hasn't been communicating for a few days now.
I will call her.
Okay, yeah. Give it,
I will call her.
yeah, give it a try to get in touch with Farah. That would be good. See
Okay.
what her schedule looks like. And we should also update the schedule. So here at the top, I'm going to link the schedule for attendance. So we missed that part of the attendance, is to link the schedule and see who did and didn't show up for today. Does someone have that? Do that real quick. Let's see here. I think I should have it here on my main doc. So Wahoo, when you're setting up these docs, the person who's responsible for setting up the doc should be linking the correct, the correct schedules and everything. So this would be the New World schedule. And then we would go to here and you would link the schedule, the correct schedule. So this is the New World Worker schedule. And here we have Jay, Lucy, Albina, Wahoo. So Albina checked in and all of us checked in so that we are good on the attendance. Yeah. So we weren't expecting Farah here or Maricel. But where is Farah? Farah's scheduled for Friday. So hopefully we'll see Farah on Friday, as well as Maricel.
Okay.
And then we're supposed to see Asif Razu on Friday as well. And Teresa is supposed to be here on Friday. So we'll see if Teresa shows up, but she's supposed to be here. We shall see. And Eileen is not scheduled. We need to add Eileen's schedule. Like I think she sent us an email or a text message or something like that had her schedule. So that's another task that someone needs to do, is to add Eileen's schedule to the New World / Old World schedule spreadsheet. So if someone could take care of that, that would be good. All right, so let's go for just a little bit longer, get through a couple more of these goals, and then we're going to wrap up and check out, okay?
Okay.
All right, so the next one is onboarding coordination. So, you know, everybody who we currently have is onboarded. The only person who's even close to that who isn't is Almas. So Almas and Rashid, Almas actually recruited Rashid, which is great. We have a new recruit, Rashid and Almas. Neither of them have ever completed a main buddy team doc. So we will see about that. If that gets proposed, we might have 2 new workers that can actually fit in the budget, which would be really exciting. So anyways, I would say that onboarding coordination just isn't really a priority. I would actually reduce this down, maybe like a 5.5. And it's internal, so it almost like get it out of there completely. Put it on our internal side. So, I mean, are there any specific goals here? I would say recruitment is the higher priority. And we'll get to recruitment eventually. So can we move on, or what? Wahoo didn't prioritize this. I had it highest priority, so I would just say that we just skip it and we move on because I think recruitment's higher priority than this.
Okay.
So then we have our umbrella accounting and finances. Umbrella accounting and finances. So here there's some very important things. One is VZ Exa Mesh. You need to be in touch with Vienna. I have not been good at getting in touch with her. So, you know, if someone else could try to contact her, that would be very helpful. Yeah. So if anyone wants to sign up to that. What else do we have for umbrella accounting and finance goals? We obviously have.
Vienna.
Do you have a contact of Vienna?
What?
Do we have contact with Vienna? Contacts for Vienna?
Of course. I've talked to her hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Anyways, the point is that we do need to be in touch with Vienna. So let's be sure to, if someone wants to help out with that, would be good.
No problem.
And it could also just be managing. It could just be management to make sure I send more texts and emails to her and call her. Right? I just need to bug her more, you know, because we need to get in touch with her. So that's umbrella accounting and finances for the exam mesh. Then the other one is accounting. You know, we're still.
No, what do you want from Vienna?
Well, we need to get CSVs for VZ Exa Mesh because she said she was going to send those to us. And then also, and these would be for accounts, right? For accounts related to VZ Exa Mesh. And then also we need to verify if she got the test Bitcoin and Ether transactions. So I sent her a Bitcoin Ether transaction. We're going to be sending her more, but she just didn't respond. So I just don't know. Okay, so then accounting, we're still behind on the accounting. We are improving for payroll accounting and sponsorship program accounting. But there's much more. All right. So we're getting better, but we need to continue the accounting. Anything else for umbrella accounting and finance? We got to do real-time finances is a long-term goal. So we certainly want to do. Oh, also we have team equity and tokens. lots of tokens to distribute. So any other questions about umbrella accounting and financing?
No.
All right. Okay, so then if we go to our priorities here, we can see we hit the internal team again. So I would say we skip invoicing, billing monthly, Plasmo, and other management priorities and stuff like that. So I would say we go ahead and focus back on the team setup. Or we just check out. What do you want to do?
So will you forward the email so that they can email for Vienna?
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Okay. Okay. On umbrella accounting, what should we consider on that?
Well, we already went over it.
Okay.
You want me to repeat it? So there's the Visa Examesh, accounting, real-time finances, team equity tokens, et cetera, et cetera. Also, we would have our co-chair elections. Super duper important that we're kind of behind on.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say overall, this is internal. Yeah. And it looks like we're also missing some other things here, including our multimedia, our member legion relations.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a lot more to be done to get organized here. We're making some progress, though.
Yes.
So let's just quickly review our internal team setup here. Vibes nonviolent communication is just a proposal. Budget, we already went over that. Full moon deadline for budget proposals already passed. We also did our main buddy team verification. Output bonus tokens. I'm excited about this. I would love to see that happen soon because I want to start distributing tokens and also give people like bonuses, right? Bonus tokens. Invoicing, billing, systems and processes. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, we're making some progress here. I think it's good. So shall we go ahead and check out? Are there any other questions about anything? I think we're good, right? So does anyone have any other questions or topics? So next steps would be to send out reminder for Zuri session, also for quarter moon session reminder. We have lots of tasks. Follow up on making sure all the tasks and indexing gets completed. All right, I think we're good. So why don't we go ahead and check out? Lucy, you want to check out? Wahoo, do you want to check out? Hello? You guys hear
I
me?
can check out Gina because he says he cannot hear when she's on. So I keep on making it.
All right, yeah, Lucy, go for it. You want to check out?
Yes. The session was great, and I will give it 7. I'm going to work on multimedia, prioritizing on that, and sponsorship. Plus more. Plus internal ops. Business internal ops.
Cool. All right, sounds good. Definitely prioritize the client work so that we can get enough client work this week. It's very important. Also, be sure to get Joseph and, possibly even Steve-O working on more client work. Otherwise, we're just not going to be able to get out of this client rut. Okay? Wahoo, you want to check out?
Well, I'll be working on verification, finishing Mars, and Venus. I'll start on Venus because it is a document.
Hi, did you have a score for today for the session? Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and check out. I thought this session was good. I give it like a 6.5. There wasn't a lot of participation, but we did make a lot of progress on training, especially for Wahoo, and we also got some good training videos. I am very concerned about the client work coordination. So although we didn't talk about that today, we definitely prioritize it for next time. The hard stop soft coordination, the client hard stop that we currently have going for Old World. So we need to make sure we are prioritizing that and addressing that. Let's make sure we address that more for the quarter moon. Also, when you're prepping for the quarter moon, that will include prepping for the internal team setup and the goals. So you want to make sure that hard stop coordination is included and updated, and also other priorities that came out of the Zuri session and the Cobalt session. I think that's it for me. So good work. Yeah. I'll talk soon. And also, if you're going to work on session value tracking, it needs to be like that. You need to accomplish the goal for member relations. Otherwise, it's just not client work, okay? It's like if you want to do session value tracking, it's not considered client work unless you actually follow through with it as the member legion relations, which includes the token distribution and verifying it and checking in with me. Otherwise, it's just there's no point in doing it, okay?
Okay.
Any other questions on anything?
Is tomorrow, we have a schedule. Is it on or is it canceled?
No, nothing's canceled for tomorrow. It's another week until the day off, the due. I think we still have the schedule up here. Where's the schedule? No, I can click on it though. So for the New World Worker schedule, we have tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, and there is it's going really slow. All right, so we have, damn it, it's going so slow. All right, here we go. Thursday, Friday. Albina, Lucy, J. Lucy, Albina, J. Wahoo, you weren't here last time, so you missed some day, but if you want to get back in the schedule, just, come ask to get involved. It should be fine. Overall, Wahoo, I think you can schedule up to 4 days now. I mean, you have some responsibilities, you're doing activities, so I would say up to 4 sessions. And then once you take on more responsibilities, it'll go up to 5, and then it'll go up to 6, and you can basically work as much as you want, but you just need to keep pushing it. Maricel and Farah, they have some responsibilities and priorities listed, but they're not really learning to do anything yet. So you're definitely excelling beyond Farah and Maricel, which is great.
So Thursday and Friday is canceled because me, I know we have Thursday and Friday. Perhaps it's the old schedule.
Yeah, I mean, just go ahead and update the worker schedule to see what's going on. I mean, I have that you were scheduled for Thursday, Friday, but that you didn't show up one week, and so we took you on put you on the no-show list.
It is 3 weeks. The first week you had Tracy event, vacation, and there was something else which came up.
Anyways, it's not a big deal. We can add you back in here, but the point is that I feel like overall you should be scheduling for up to 4 days if you want to add more days. Okay. So right now you're scheduled 3 days. So you could add 1 additional day, either during Zuri or New World, whatever. Another thing we should prioritize is badges and level 4 rankings. I don't think we do that, do we? No. So I definitely would like to prioritize that. So badges and level 4 rankings. Any other questions, comments? So you know how to get to the New World schedule, right? Wahoo?
No.
Okay, well, in our notes, right, it's linked right at the top under attendance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just go to the top of our notes for now, you can copy and paste that into your main doc, and then you'll have that link. And we probably want to add that to the template main doc as well. It seems like something that we would want everyone to have.
Okay.
Or we just copy in whether they're New World or Old World. Either way, the point is that you can update the schedule. Just go on the schedule. If you're going to add yourself to a certain day, it's perfectly fine. Update it and keep your schedule updated in general. All right, and then we'll connect tomorrow.
Okay, because the schedule is changed. That is at what time?
Yeah, the schedule does change. The schedule's always changing, off and on, here and there.
So that's at what time?
The actual time is the same. It's Andromeda. So Andromeda session is 2 to 4 p.m. America's time, which is 8 p.m. I think, 8 p.m. UTC.
Andromeda is 2 to. Andromeda is not 11.
You can ask Lucy. She might have a better idea. Lucy?
I think Andromeda happened at 11 and the Cobalt happened at 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. So let's go ahead and check out. And I mean, we're done. So we're done until the next session. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.